I'm 63 years old, and 3 weeks ago, I kissed another man for the first time in 41 years of marriage. Not a peck on the cheek, not a friendly goodbye. A real kiss. The kind that makes your knees weak and your heart pound so hard you think everyone around can hear it. And the worst part? I don't regret it, not even a little. My name is Margaret, though everyone calls me Maggie. I've been married to Robert since I was 22. We have 3 grown children, 5 grandchildren, and a beautiful house in suburban Chicago, with a garden I've tended for decades. On paper, my life is perfect. On paper, I'm the woman every daughter hopes her mother will be. Devoted, loyal, proper. But paper doesn't tell you about the nights I've lain awake staring at the ceiling, wondering if this emptiness is all that's left for me. Paper doesn't capture the moment when a stranger's eyes meet yours across a crowded art gallery, and suddenly you remember what it feels like to be seen, truly seen, as a woman, and not just as someone's wife or mother or grandmother. Before I go any further, I need you to understand something. I'm not a bad person. I've never cheated, never even considered it. I've been faithful in every way that matters, or at least I thought I had been. But if you're listening to this and you've ever felt invisible in your own life, if you've ever wondered whether the best parts of you died somewhere along the way without anyone noticing, then maybe you'll understand what happened next. And if you're enjoying this story so far, please help this channel grow by clicking that subscribe button. We're working toward 5,000 subscribers, and your support means everything to this community. It started 6 months ago when Robert retired. I thought it would bring us closer together, give us time to rediscover each other after all those years of him working 60-hour weeks at the law firm. Instead, it was like living with a stranger who happened to know where I kept the coffee mugs. He'd wake up, read the newspaper for 2 hours, play golf, come home, watch television, and go to bed. Day after day, the same routine. When I tried to talk to him about maybe taking a trip together or joining a class, he'd pat my hand and say, "We're too old for adventures, Maggie. Let's just enjoy the peace and quiet." Peace and quiet. That's what my life had become. A mausoleum of peace and quiet. My daughter Sarah suggested I take up a hobby, something just for me. She'd noticed I seemed a bit down lately, which was her polite way of saying I looked like I'd given up. So I enrolled in a watercolor painting class at the community center on Tuesday evenings. It was mostly women my age, all of us trying to fill the vast empty spaces retirement and empty nests had left behind. The instructor was a sweet young woman named Emma, who had infinite patience with our shaky brush strokes and muddy color mixing. That's where I met him. Daniel. He walked into our 3rd class apologizing for being late, his salt and pepper hair slightly disheveled from the wind outside. He was probably around my age, maybe a year or 2 younger, with laugh lines around his eyes and paint stains on his fingers that suggested this wasn't his first art class. Emma welcomed him warmly and set him up at the empty easel next to mine. "Sorry," he whispered to me as he arranged his supplies. "I'm Daniel. I promise I'm not usually this disorganized." "Maggie," I replied, and when our eyes met, something sparked. I told myself it was just friendly, just polite, but I felt my cheeks flush, and I hadn't blushed in years. Over the next few weeks, Daniel and I fell into an easy friendship. We'd chat quietly while painting, comparing our terrible attempts at capturing the still life arrangements Emma set up for us. He made me laugh, really laugh, in a way I'd forgotten I could. He told me about his life. He was a widower, his wife had passed away from cancer 3 years ago, and he was still figuring out how to build a life that felt worth living without her. "Some days are harder than others," he admitted one evening as we cleaned our brushes. "But I'm trying to find joy in small things again, like terrible watercolor paintings." I smiled. "Ours aren't that terrible." "Maggie, my apple looks like a lumpy potato. Let's be honest." And just like that, I was laughing so hard I had to wipe tears from my eyes. When was the last time Robert had made me laugh like that? I couldn't remember. If you're relating to this story, please take a moment to click subscribe. Your subscription helps us reach our goal of 5,000 subscribers and keeps this channel growing. It only takes a second, and it means so much. After class, Daniel asked if I'd like to grab coffee sometime. "Just as friends," he added quickly. I don't really know many people in the area yet, and you seem like someone who'd give great recommendations on where to find a decent cup of coffee in this town. I should have said no. I should have politely declined, gone home to Robert and the television and the peace and quiet. Instead, I heard myself say, I'd like that. We met for coffee 3 days later at a small cafe downtown. We talked for 2 hours about everything and nothing. Books we'd read, places we'd traveled, dreams we'd had when we were younger. Daniel had been an architect before retiring, and his eyes lit up when he described buildings he'd designed. I told him about my children, my grandchildren, how I'd always wanted to write, but had never found the time. Why not start now? He asked. You have time now, don't you? It was such a simple question. But it hit me like a revelation. Why not now? What was I waiting for? Permission? For life to begin again? For someone to tell me I still mattered? I suppose I do, I said quietly. When I got home that afternoon, Robert was asleep in his recliner, the television blaring. I stood in the doorway watching him, and I felt nothing. Not anger, not resentment, just a vast, aching nothing. We'd built a life together, raised a family, survived all the challenges marriage throws at you. But somewhere along the way, we'd stopped being partners and become simply two people who shared an address. Coffee with Daniel became a weekly thing, then twice a week. We'd meet after painting class and sometimes on Saturday mornings when I told Robert I was going to the farmer's market. We never did anything inappropriate. We just talked, walked around the park, visited art galleries. He made me feel interesting again, like my thoughts and opinions mattered. He asked questions and actually listened to the answers. You have such a lovely way of seeing the world, he told me one afternoon as we stood in front of a painting at the Chicago Art Institute. Everything you say is so thoughtful, so considered. I felt that blush rising again. Robert hasn't asked me what I think about anything in probably 10 years. Then Robert's a fool, Daniel said simply. And that's when I knew I was in trouble. Real trouble. We're getting to the intense part of the story now, so if you're still with me, please hit that subscribe button. We're so close to 5,000 subscribers, and you can be part of this community by clicking subscribe right now. It really does help the channel grow. The shift happened gradually, then all at once. Our conversations became more personal, more intimate. Daniel told me about the loneliness of losing his wife, how some nights he still set the table for two out of habit. I told him about the loneliness of having a spouse who was physically present but emotionally absent, how sometimes being ignored felt worse than being alone. You deserve better than that, he said one evening as we sat on a bench overlooking Lake Michigan. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. You deserve someone who sees you, Maggie. Really sees you. And you see me? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. I see you, he confirmed. I see a woman who's intelligent, kind, funny, and beautiful. I see someone who's spent so long taking care of everyone else that she's forgotten to live her own life. Beautiful. When was the last time someone had called me beautiful? When was the last time I'd felt beautiful? Daniel, I started, but I didn't know how to finish that sentence. I didn't know how to explain the war raging inside me, the guilt and the longing all tangled up together. He reached over and took my hand, just held it gently, his thumb tracing small circles on my palm. It was the most intimate moment I'd experienced in years, and we weren't even doing anything wrong. Not technically, but it felt wrong. It felt like crossing a line I couldn't uncross. I pulled my hand away. I should go. Robert will wonder where I am. Will he? Daniel asked, and the question hung in the air between us like an accusation. I drove home with tears streaming down my face because I knew the answer was no. Robert wouldn't wonder. He probably hadn't even noticed I was gone. That night, I tried to talk to Robert. Really talk. I made his favorite dinner, opened a nice bottle of wine, and when we sat down at the table, I said, Robert, I think we need to discuss our marriage. He looked up from his phone, confused. What about it? Don't you feel like we've drifted apart? Like we're more roommates than husband and wife? He put down his phone with a sigh, as if I'd asked him to explain quantum physics. Maggie, we've been married for 41 years. This is just what happens. The passion fades, and you settle into comfortable companionship. That's normal. But what if I don't want comfortable companionship? What if I want more? More what? We have a good life. A comfortable life. What more could you want at our age? At our age. As if being over 60 meant I should just accept being invisible, being taken for granted, being slowly forgotten even by the person who'd promised to love me forever. I want to feel alive again, I said. I want to matter. You're being dramatic, he dismissed. Maybe you should cut back on those painting classes. They seem to be putting strange ideas in your head. And that was it. Conversation over. He picked up his phone again, and I sat there feeling like I'd just tried to communicate with a brick wall. Please subscribe to the channel if you're invested in finding out what happens next. Just click that red subscribe button and help us reach 5,000 subscribers. Your support means everything. I didn't plan what happened next. I swear I didn't. But the following Tuesday after painting class, when Daniel asked if I wanted to come see his apartment, he'd just finished hanging some artwork and wanted my opinion. I said yes. His apartment was beautiful, full of light and carefully chosen pieces that reflected his architectural eye. We stood in his living room discussing the paintings he'd hung, and then somehow we were standing very close together, and then we were standing so close I could feel the warmth radiating from his body. Maggie, he said softly, I need to be honest with you. This stopped being just friendship for me weeks ago. My heart was pounding so hard I felt dizzy. Daniel, I'm married. I know, and I would never ask you to do anything that would hurt you. But I also can't pretend I don't have feelings for you. You've brought light back into my life. You've made me feel like living again instead of just existing. I feel the same way, I whispered, and saying it out loud felt both terrifying and liberating. But I don't know what to do with these feelings. I've never been in this situation before. We don't have to do anything, he assured me. We can just acknowledge that this connection exists and still be friends. I won't push you, Maggie. I just needed you to know that you're seen, you're valued, and you're absolutely beautiful to me. I started crying then. 41 years of feeling invisible, of being taken for granted, of convincing myself that this was just what marriage became. And here was this man telling me I was beautiful and meaning it. Daniel pulled me into his arms, just holding me while I cried. And it felt so good to be held, to be comforted, to be treated like I mattered. His hand stroked my hair, and I looked up at him through my tears, and that's when it happened. He kissed me. Or I kissed him. I honestly don't know who moved first. All I know is that suddenly his lips were on mine, and I was kissing him back with 41 years of loneliness and longing and need. It wasn't a gentle kiss. It was desperate, hungry, like we were both drowning and had finally found air. When we finally pulled apart, we were both breathless. Oh, God, I gasped. Oh, God, what did I just do? Maggie, I have to go. I grabbed my purse and practically ran for the door. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I can't. I drove home in a state of complete panic. I just kissed another man. I'd betrayed my husband. I'd become the kind of woman I'd always judged, the kind who breaks her vows and destroys her family. But even in my panic, even in my guilt, I couldn't stop touching my lips, couldn't stop remembering how alive I'd felt in that moment. The next few days were torture. Daniel texted me several times asking if we could talk, but I couldn't bring myself to respond. I avoided Robert even more than usual because I was certain my guilt must be written all over my face. I barely slept, playing that kiss over and over in my mind, trying to understand how I'd let things go so far. My daughter Sarah stopped by unexpectedly on Friday afternoon. She took one look at me and said, "Mom, what's wrong? You look terrible." "I'm fine," I lied. "Just haven't been sleeping well." She sat down at my kitchen table and fixed me with that look only daughters can give their mothers, the one that says they know you're lying and they're not leaving until you tell the truth. "Mom, talk to me. What's going on?" And suddenly I was crying again, the whole story pouring out of me in a jumbled mess. The loneliness, the painting class, Daniel, the coffee dates, the kiss, all of it. Sarah listened without interrupting, her expression carefully neutral. When I finally finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "Mom," she said finally, "are you in love with this man?" The question hit me like a physical blow. Was I in love with Daniel? Or was I just in love with the way he made me feel? Was there even a difference? "I don't know," I admitted. "I just know that I feel more alive when I'm with him than I have in decades. And I know that's not an excuse for what I did. But have you talked to Dad about any of this? About how unhappy you are?" "I tried. He doesn't listen. He thinks everything is fine just the way it is." Sarah sighed. "Dad's always been good at avoiding difficult conversations. But Mom, you can't just have an affair. You need to decide what you want. If you're unhappy in your marriage, you need to either work on it or end it. But sneaking around isn't fair to anyone, including yourself." She was right, of course. But the thought of actually ending my marriage, of blowing up our family, of being that woman at our age, it felt impossible. If you're still listening and wondering what happens, please help us grow by subscribing to the channel. We're working toward 5,000 subscribers, and clicking that subscribe button really helps us reach that goal. Join this community by subscribing now. I finally responded to Daniel's texts that evening. I agreed to meet him for coffee one more time, to talk about what had happened. When I saw him sitting at our usual table at the cafe, my heart did that stupid fluttering thing again, and I knew I was in deeper trouble than I'd admitted. "I'm sorry I ran," I said as I sat down. "I panicked." "I understand. Maggie, I'm the one who should be sorry. I shouldn't have kissed you. I put you in an impossible position." "You didn't force me," I said quietly. "I wanted it too. That's what scares me." Daniel reached across the table but stopped short of taking my hand, respecting the space I'd put between us. "What do you want, Maggie?" "Really want?" It was the same question Robert should have been asking me for years but never did. "I want to feel alive," I said. "I want to feel like I matter. I want to feel desired and seen and appreciated. I want to wake up in the morning excited about the day ahead instead of dreading another day of being invisible." "You could have all of that," Daniel said. "Maybe not with me. I'm not trying to pressure you into anything. But you could have it. You deserve to have it." "I'm 63 years old," I said, as if that explained everything. "So? Maggie, you're 63, not dead. You have years ahead of you. Are you really going to spend them being miserable out of some sense of obligation?" It was the question I'd been avoiding asking myself. I went home that night and found Robert asleep in his chair again, and I made a decision. I gently woke him up and said, "Robert, we need to have a serious conversation. Right now." He blinked at me groggily. "Can it wait until morning?" "No, it can't. Robert, I'm not happy. I haven't been happy in a very long time, and I need you to hear me when I say that." Something in my tone must have finally gotten through to him because he sat up straighter. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about the fact that we've become strangers living in the same house. I'm talking about the fact that you don't see me anymore, don't really talk to me, don't seem to care about what I think or feel or want." "That's not true," he protested. "I care about you." "Then prove it. When's the last time you asked me about my day? When's the last time you took me on a date or told me I looked nice or made me feel like I was more than just the person who does your laundry?" Robert looked genuinely confused, like I was speaking a foreign language. "Maggie, we've been married for 4 decades. Romance fades. That's just reality." "Maybe it doesn't have to," I said. "Maybe we've just gotten lazy." "What brought all this on?" he asked, and there was something in his voice. Suspicion, maybe? This was my moment. I could tell him about Daniel, about the kiss, about everything. I could blow up our marriage right here, right now. Or I could try one more time to save it. "I've been taking painting classes," I said carefully. "And being around creative people, people who are excited about life, has made me realize how much we've let our marriage stagnate. I want us to try again, Robert. Really try. But I need you to meet me halfway." He was quiet for a long time. "What do you want from me?" "I want you to see me. I want you to talk to me. I want you to act like you still love me and not just like you're tolerating me. I do love you, he said, and he actually sounded hurt. Of course I love you. Then show me, I challenged. Starting tomorrow, show me. He nodded slowly. Okay, I'll try. It wasn't a grand declaration, but it was something. Over the next 2 weeks, Robert actually made an effort. He started asking about my day. He suggested we go out to dinner. He even came to one of my painting classes to see what I'd been working on. It was awkward and stilted at first, like we were on a first date and didn't know what to say to each other. But slowly, carefully, we started finding our way back to conversations that mattered. And I stopped seeing Daniel. I sent him a long text explaining that I needed to try to make my marriage work, that what we'd had was beautiful but it couldn't continue. He responded with grace and kindness, saying he understood and wished me well, and that he'd always treasure our friendship. I thought that was the end of it. I thought I'd made the right choice. But if you want to know what really happened, you need to keep listening. And please take a second to subscribe to the channel right now. We're so close to 5,000 subscribers, and your subscription makes such a difference. Just click that button. For 3 weeks, Robert and I worked on our marriage. We went on dates, we talked more, we even held hands while watching television. It wasn't perfect. 41 years of neglect can't be fixed in 3 weeks, but it was progress. I started to believe that maybe we could find our way back to each other, that maybe I hadn't needed Daniel at all, just needed to shake Robert out of his complacency. Then Robert's phone rang during dinner one evening. He glanced at it, frowned, and excused himself to take the call in his study. He was gone for almost 30 minutes. When he came back, he seemed distracted, distant. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Fine," he said curtly. "Just work stuff." "I thought you were retired." They still consult with me sometimes on certain cases. It felt like a lie, but I told myself I was being paranoid, that I was projecting my own guilt onto him. But the phone calls kept coming. Late-night calls he'd take in his study with the door closed. Texts that would make him smile in a way I hadn't seen in years. Once, I walked into the kitchen and he quickly closed his laptop, looking guilty. "What was that?" I asked. "Nothing, just email." My stomach started churning with a sick suspicion. I told myself I was being ridiculous. Robert would never cheat. He was too honorable. Too upright, too boring, honestly. But the signs were all there. The same signs I'd probably been showing before my kiss with Daniel. One afternoon, while Robert was at golf, I did something I'd never done in 41 years of marriage. I looked at his phone. He'd left it on his nightstand, and I picked it up with shaking hands, entering his passcode, our wedding date, which somehow made what I was about to find even worse. There were texts from a woman named Jennifer. Lots of texts, going back months. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow," one said. "Last night was incredible," said another. "I know this is complicated, but I think I'm falling for you." I sat on the edge of our bed, phone in my trembling hands, and I felt like the entire world was tilting sideways. While I'd been racked with guilt over a single kiss, while I'd been trying so hard to save our marriage, Robert had been having a full-blown affair. The sick irony wasn't lost on me. The wife who'd almost strayed discovers her husband actually did. I confronted him that evening. I didn't yell or cry. I just calmly showed him the texts and asked, "How long?" He went pale. "Maggie, I can explain." "How long, Robert?" 6 months, he admitted. "I met her at the golf club. It just happened. I didn't plan." 6 months, I repeated. "So all those times you said you were playing golf?" "I'm sorry," he said. "I know that doesn't mean anything, but I am. I never meant to hurt you." "You never meant to hurt me," I echoed. "Robert, for 41 years I've been faithful to you. For 41 years I've put you and our children and our home first. And the one time, I even considered something else. I stopped. I came back. I tried to fix us. And all that time you were..." I couldn't even finish the sentence. "Are you in love with her?" I asked. He hesitated, and that hesitation told me everything I needed to know. "I want you to leave," I said quietly. "Tonight." Pack a bag and go to Jennifer's or a hotel or wherever you want. But I can't look at you right now. Maggie, please, we can work through this. Like I tried to work through it? Like I tried to save our marriage while you were texting another woman? I laughed, a bitter sound. Get out. Robert. He left. I watched him pack a bag with numb detachment, and then he was gone, and I was alone in our house for the first time in 4 decades. I called Sarah, and she came over immediately with wine and tissues. When I told her everything, she wrapped me in her arms and let me cry. What am I going to do? I asked. Whatever you want, Mom. For the first time in your life, you get to do whatever you want. If you're still with me on this journey, please subscribe to help us reach 5,000 subscribers. Click that subscribe button and be part of this community as we navigate these difficult stories together. The next morning, I texted Daniel. Are you free for coffee? We met at our usual cafe. He took one look at my face and said, What happened? I told him everything. About Robert's affair, about the texts, about sending him away. Daniel listened without interrupting, and when I finished, he reached across the table and took my hand. I'm so sorry, Maggie. You deserved better than that. Did I, though? I asked. I almost did the same thing. Almost isn't the same as did, Daniel pointed out. You stopped. You tried to fix your marriage. That counts for something. I don't know what to do now, I admitted. Do I file for divorce? Do I try to forgive him? I'm 63 years old. Am I supposed to start over at 63? You're supposed to do whatever makes you happy, Daniel said. And for what it's worth, 63 isn't old. It's not too late for second chances. Is that what this is? I asked, squeezing his hand. A second chance? It could be, he said carefully. If you want it to be. But Maggie, you need to figure out what you want independent of me or Robert or anyone else. What does Maggie want? It was the same question everyone kept asking me, and I still didn't have a good answer. I'm living alone now. Robert is staying with Jennifer, and we've started talking about divorce proceedings. My children are shocked and angry, especially at their father. My grandchildren don't understand why Grandpa doesn't come to Sunday dinners anymore. I've started going back to painting class, and yes, I see Daniel there. We're taking things slow, figuring out what this could be without the shadow of my marriage hanging over us. Some days I feel guilty. Some days I feel angry. Some days I feel gloriously free. Most days I feel all three at once. I don't know if Daniel and I will become something more. I don't know if I'll forgive Robert or if he even wants to be forgiven. I suspect he's happier with Jennifer than he ever was with me. And isn't that a knife to the heart? I don't know if I made the right choices or if I should have handled things differently from the start. What I do know is this. I'm 63 years old, and for the first time in decades, I feel alive. I feel seen. I wake up every morning not knowing what the day will bring, and instead of terrifying me, it excites me. I'm writing again, really writing. The stories and thoughts I kept bottled up for years. I'm painting. I'm meeting new people. I'm learning that life doesn't end at 60 or 70 or probably even 80. Robert called me last night. He wants to talk about us. Wants to know if there's any chance for reconciliation. Jennifer, apparently, has been having second thoughts about being with a man who's still technically married. The grass isn't always greener, it turns out. And here's where I need your help. Because I honestly don't know what to do. Part of me, the part that's been married for 41 years, wants to try again. Wants to believe people can change, that relationships can be repaired. Another part of me remembers those 6 months of lies and wonders if I could ever really trust him again. And then there's the part that thinks about Daniel, about new possibilities, about writing my own story instead of living in someone else's. So I'm asking you, what would you do in my place? Would you try to save a 41-year marriage even after betrayal? Would you take a chance on something new with Daniel? Or would you choose yourself? Choose to be alone and figure out who Maggie is without being defined by any man at all? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. We're so close to reaching 5,000 subscribers, and your subscription helps keep these stories alive, helps build a community where we can share our struggles and support each other through the messy, complicated business of being human. Just click that red subscribe button right now. Because here's the thing, I don't have the ending to this story yet. I'm living it in real time, making choices and mistakes and maybe, just maybe, finally learning to put myself first. And whatever happens next, whether it's reconciliation or divorce or new love or chosen solitude, I know one thing for certain. At 63, I was reborn. And I'm not going back to being invisible ever again. Thank you for listening to my story. Subscribe, leave a comment telling me what you'd do, and I'll be back soon with an update on whatever happens next. Because something tells me this story is far from over.